Okay, so as promised in the first episode of this mini-series about the Kingtone Rise pedal, which is a Germanium Treble Booster that I've just come across courtesy of a viewer comment, and I really love it, so I thought I'd make a little three-part series. This video is going to be more demos with different amps and guitars, so you can get a real flavour depending on what sort of guitar and amp combo you like, or if you're just curious. So if you haven't seen the first part, I'll put a link up here, and I'll also put a link down in the description. You could go and watch that first so you know what the pedal is, what it does. And as I said, in this one, I'm going to use a few different guitars, a few different amps. And then in the third part, I'm going to compare it to a couple of other pedals and also put it with a couple of maybe a delay pedal and things like that to see how it sounds. So I hope you find this useful. The clips will be reasonably short. I'll give you a little brief explanation in between each one why I might have tweaked something. So let's just have a bit of fun with it, and we'll find out more about the pedal as we go along. Just two quick things I wanted to butt in with. Firstly, we're nearly at 2,500 subs, at which point I'm giving away the BB preamp anywhere in the world. Just subscribe publicly to the channel and comment somewhere on a video and you'll be in there to win it. And secondly, it'd be great if you could join me on Instagram, where I put some clips before a video comes out on YouTube, and sometimes different clips than the ones that are in there. And if I get more followers, I'm planning to put more and more stuff on there, just so you can see little snippets of bits of gear here and there. I'll put the name of my Instagram here. Okay, so I'm starting with the Fender Vibroverb amp. I'm really loving this amp at the moment, and with the P90 guitar that I'm using, I've started with the pedal on a relatively fuzzy setting with quite a lot of overdrive. I really just want to see how the amp and the pedal together cope with those P90s, which are quite high output P90s. And I want to get a sort of, I don't know how to put it, like a dreamy, ethereal, but quite rocky tone. And the reason I would use a treble booster like this is I just want it to feel really alive. And I'm finding that's what this pedal does. So let's hear what that sounds like, and then we'll see if I tweak it at all. Okay, so that was really full on. Obviously the vibrato from the amp was pretty strong. I quite liked it in that sort of setting. There was a little bit of woofy flubbiness at the lower end, and I don't know if that's to do with the amp or what, but I find that with the P90s and with this amp together, I get a little bit of that. I think the treble booster is just helping to lift it up. But for this next clip, I basically have dropped the drive a bit. I've also dropped the tone a bit. I've moved it from the full fat setting over to the overdrive setting, and I've decreased the fuzziness. I've moved it slightly towards the cleaner end. So let's hear what that sounds like. so listening back by myself to the two together, I think it actually shows the pedal really well. It shows that it has quite a lot of different uses just within these two little clips. The first one, I love that full fat sound. There's a lot of depth to the note, and it's got like a real, you know, it's not too edgy, you know, it's quite rounded sound, which I like. But for the second one, I like the fact that it's a bit more transparent, and you can feel that it's still boosting the sort of mids, upper mids, and the treble range, and it's still got the character of fuzz, you know, the very gentle fuzz, but it's still there and it's still doing something. I really like that, and I like it in this overdrive setting. It's really nice to play with. So both of those uses actually I really, really enjoy. Now, I think we should move on to another guitar. I'll be back in a second. Okay, now we're going to move over to my Rift Ainsley Lister amp. So that's an EL34 amp, a completely different type of a thing. There'll be some reverb on, there's no tremolo in this amp, and I'm going to use my Gibson R9, so we'll get some humbuckers in this one. So although I quite like that tone, it was a little bit muffled, so just now I'm going to increase the tone, but as well as the drive as well, and I'm going to put it in full fat mode just so we you know, carry on sort of exploring the pedal. Another thing to say is I'm not using this into a completely clean amp. I did have one comment recently where someone said that it was pointless demoing a pedal into an amp that wasn't completely clean. I would probably beg to differ on that. A lot of the time I use a clean amp. It depends completely on the point of that particular demo. If I'm going to use a Les Paul and I'm going to use this Rift amp with EL34s, there's gonna be some dirt in there no matter what. So from my perspective, for my use, and for what I can show you, this is how I would use it. But I'd be interested to know down in the comments, what do you think about that? Should I always include a clip of the amp clean and then with the pedal and then change the amp to the setting that I might use? You know, I'm generally happy to do extra work, but I just want to find out if it's actually worth it. Okay, so that definitely made it less muffled, and I was enjoying that, but it sort of bordered on the slightly fizzy, the slightly lacking in body. Maybe just push those upper mids and the treble a bit too much. So I'm going to increase the fuzz and play around with some other settings now. And halfway through this next one, I change from full fat to overdrive on the switch without changing any of the other settings, just so you can see what that might do. Okay, in the next section of this demo, actually I decided to see what does happen with a really clean amp. So I'm using the Two Rock Bloomfield Drive. It's not got much going on with it, pretty clean, quite neutral, but it still sounds nice. I'm gonna use a Fender Broadcaster to begin with, and I just finished with my Gibson Marcus King ES 345. This is not the most musical bit of demo ever, but I was sort of tweaking around a lot. Not all of it is on camera, so it ended up being a little bit disjointed. But you'll sort of see, I try and play a lot of sort of full fat chords, so you can hear all the, what's going on with the pedal basically. Okay, so it was at this point I started to think that this pedal takes the characteristics of the amp and the settings you're using, and it gives you the ability to push those a little bit further. It's got the ability to make everything just really sound clear and good and bright, but not in a sort of jangly way. This has got some really beautiful sort of harmonics and tones that it brings out, no matter what style you're playing with. Now, I can't film everything that I do, but I've had time to use the pedal quite a lot over the last few days, and it doesn't matter what type of amp I've been using or what setting I've put the pedal in, unless I've gone too loud and it's reverberated around the room in a weird way, everything just sounds really good. I tend to find that I'm not using the vintage setting as much. It sort of removes a lot of bottom end, but between the full fat and the overdrive, I really, really love it. Now, that Telecaster or Broadcaster demo there was not, as sort of punchy as the Les Paul one, but that was sort of the point, to show you more of the subtle ways that it can actually take your amp tone and improve it. And I think the Marcus King demo, which is shorter in a second, will also show you that. The Bloomfield Drive has a lot of headroom, and in the way I had it set, this pedal was not able to push it like an overdrive pedal would, like a good overdrive pedal would. So don't mistake this as a real overdrive pedal. If you've got your amp set up quite hot, it will push it a bit further. If you've got it set really clean, then it's not necessarily going to give you overdrive. It's more of a clean boost in that sense, with a hint of fuzz, a hint of full fat or overdrive, or the vintage tone, which is sort of lacking a lot of those lower tones. So let's hear the Marcus King, and then I'll let you know what we're going to do with this pedal in the last video of this little series. Okay, so as you can see there, I had it in the cleanest setting. I wanted to see how good of a transparent, clean boost it can be. It could make you, give you that treble boost and help you to come through in a mix. It really just is a pleasant thing at that point. It just gives everything like 20-30% more loveliness. That's just the way it feels to play when you're using a clean amp like that. It could be really good for jazzy stuff. It could be really good for sort of like lyrical music when you use it like that. And as we heard with the Les Paul, it can go crazy and awesome and fuzzy. As we saw with the Strat last time, it can do that. And with the Tele, I sort of used it in its mid-range, where it really just gives you a boost with a hint of something. It's not quite overdrive, it's not quite fuzz, but it's certainly the signal is being passed through a really good sounding sort of germanium transistor, I guess. And overall, I'm still just really, really loving this pedal. It really is got the potential to be on my board. So in the last video, I'm going to put it before and after some fuzzes and overdrives and with a delay pedal, so we can finally hear what it does in the midst of other things. So if you want to see that, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you then. Cheers.